Odds Monkey. Beat the bookie and make money whether you win, lose or draw. Swing by oddsmonkey.com today to try the UK's #1 matched betting service for just £1. Enter promo code Gooner when you register and upgrade to premium.
Hello everyone and welcome to a special Gooner Ramble podcast. Tonight's pod is a little bit different to our normal chats. I had an idea that I felt may be of interest to football fans, one that gets discussed game after game, season after season, referees, their decisions and the consequences of their decisions can have on games. Over the years I felt some refs may have had an agenda. My opinions have changed over time and I thought it might be interesting to chat about this and some controversial decisions along the way, especially for us Arsenal fans. So joining me tonight is one of my compadres from the Ramble, the lovely Warren, also known as Was the Gooner on Twitter. You alright, Was?
Hello, Mans. I'm good, thank you. Good, thank you for having me on.
Oh, good. It's strange this, though, isn't it? Me as host.
Yeah, tell me about it. Good, though. You started well.
Oh, that's okay. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. Right. Also joining me is Lee Judges, co-host of the Same Old Arsenal pod and a regular on Arsenal Fan TV. Evening, Lee. You well?
I'm good, thank you, Amanda. Very good introduction. We've done it so far, very professional, I have to say, like, you know.
So you two are not being that tad condescending to me then?
No, not at all.
Okay. Right, and last but not least, my personal ref, as I like to call him, a great mate of mine, Liverpool season ticket holder since they won everything in the Stone Age. And
you'd remember that then.
Dave, you were a level 6 qualified ref, which means you could referee at county standard, but no longer refs as much, but still fills in as and when. Evening, David.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us.
That's all right, no problem, my pleasure.
As you pointed out, you are on foreign territory with 3 Gooners and a scouser.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for anyone that doesn't know, and probably who's listened to me on a podcast go on and on and on about my mate, who is the ref, this is the ref. So basically, hello, this is David. So basically, for anyone that's listening, I used to literally feel that Arsenal were very hard done by. Every time a foul would happen, the opposing team wouldn't get booked and we would, the next foul. So, with that in mind, when Dave and I became friends and we discussed decisions, every single decision now, I don't make my mind up on until I've shouted at him. And what would we say, Dave? About 9 times out of 10 I get them wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, just for a bit of background, really, I know when Arsenal are playing because my WhatsApp goes about 63 times in the space of 90 minutes. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? Have you seen the other? And it's quite interesting for me, really, as a referee, and seeing it from almost a neutral perspective, because obviously I'm a Liverpool fan, Liverpool season ticket holder, so looking at it through referees' eyes is interesting when talking to a football fan of another team, if you get what I mean. You don't get them all wrong, but I think that the problem for me as a referee with football fans in general, and that's across the board, Liverpool fans, everyone, is by their nature football fans are myopic. So by their nature, they see it from a one-side point of view, and maybe that skews your perception. And then when you watch something in cold light of day, often you'll think, yeah, maybe I wasn't right there. So yeah, you're right sometimes, you're wrong sometimes.
More wrong than right. So Lee, okay, I'm going to bring you in now, Lee. Do you remember when we watched, was it the last game of the season? When you sat in
Arsenal
front of
versus
me?
Everton.
Yeah, Koscielny. And even when I showed you at half time what Koscielny had done, you still argued with me. Do you remember?
I did, yeah. The reason being, I will say that it probably is a sending off, but I've seen a lot of other players do tackles like that and not been given the straight red card. I do believe that there is an agenda against Arsenal, not necessarily Arsenal, against Arsene Wenger. I feel that probably through the years that he's upset the referees and there's a little bit of a personal thing against it. That's my personal opinion. So I do feel there's a bit of there's always if it's a definite sending off for Arsenal, it happens. With other teams, particularly against us, there's the benefit of the doubt comes in. That's my perceive of it. But it's interesting that maybe that I do look it through rose tinted glasses, as they say, and from an Arsenal point of view. But I do feel that there are justifications on this, and there's nothing against referees. I just feel that maybe it is a little bit personal.
Okay, Warren, do you feel the same?
Yeah, often it's funny. I've got a guy who I've sat next to for years now. He's a lovely fellow and must be about 65 odd. He's a great guy, and every week he looks at the ref. Northwest bias, bloody Northwest bias. It does seem to feel that way. That a hell of a lot of the referees are from sort of the northwest, northeast, that neck of the woods. And it does sound silly because obviously it's hard to judge because we watch games for 90 minutes and there's niggly things. I think they're the things that add up and get the frustrations in one decision, because there's often plenty of niggly little fouls that are given. He stops play when he don't need to. There's plenty of things like that with referees that all build up to one, for me, frustration as a football fan. And often you can tell straight away. I mean, for me, the best referees are the ones you really don't see do a lot, because they're fully in control of the game and they're letting it flow. And sometimes it does need a stern hand, but it's a very, very difficult job. And Dave, as he said, he makes a great point. We do look at every decision through our club's eyes. But I must admit that Koscielny one, I sit in block 13. I thought that was a red straight away. I winced. I really did think it was quite bad, and I thought he was walking straight away. But there was other decisions in that game for multiple players that could have seen red for Everton. So yeah, and basically it's just there's an accumulation of decisions that often happen, and it's frustrating at times. I think it's more for me. I mean, I'm terrible with referees. I'll openly admit it. I really do get wound up. I do, and I know I shouldn't because it is a tough job. But sometimes it's simple things like that. It seems that the whole stadium can see, apart from the one man that really matters. And I think them little decisions, no matter how minute they be, they all add up. And then obviously when we see match of the day and things, and they highlight one key decision and they get pelters for it, often it's not so much that decision that made everyone so wound up. Well, me personally, it's a number of decisions, but it's such a difficult job to do. But I do think, I don't know whether the game's changed over the last few years or since I've been going regularly, that the standard refereeing is decreasing. I really do think it is, but it might just be that the way football's changing is making it more and more difficult by the day. But yeah, I must admit, I do get frustrated. I really do. Okay,
before I bring Dave in, Lee, that was one decision the whole season I didn't actually have to say to Dave, what do you think? I knew because that was right in front of us. And I know what you're saying about other decisions, but that is a red. There's no doubt in my mind. We argued about this the whole time. That is a red. As Warren said, he winced, I winced. He was at the cup final. We went ballistic. And actually, that helped us because we beat Chelsea a week later, with Per, obviously. But regardless of the fact that you feel that other decisions didn't go our way, that's nevertheless that Koscielny is a red. So forget that. If you're going on the agenda side, I understand that. And that's something that I'll bring Dave in now to talk about. But for me, that was the only decision the whole season. I didn't need to say to Dave on WhatsApp, is this a red? I just knew it was. So, okay, Dave.
My point being on that, Amanda, is yes, it's a definite sending off. Like, we're all going to agree with that, yeah. But then you come to Williams, which is a definite second yellow card incident, and the referee chooses not to give it. But
what I'm trying to say is, Lee, that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's a red. Don't go but. It is a red. Now we'll talk about the other decision, and that's one that you want to talk to Dave about, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Even on, I'm still going to say about the Koscielny one. When I see it, I'm still going to say, I can understand why it's a sending off, but I can go back to, was that worse than Ross Barkley's challenge against Everton and Liverpool? I don't think so. I think Ross Barkley's was a lot worse, but he gets a yellow card. So, I know you're going to go on the context of the game. So let's say that it's a sending off. Okay. Right. So Arsenal at home, it's a contentious decision. Even on telly, they turned around and said, he's going to get a yellow card here. So he's, right. There's the referee now. It's a definite sending off. Williams takes down the man, second yellow card. It's a definite booking. There's no two ways about it. There's no intentions of going for the ball. Why does he choose not to send him off? There's no logical reason other than an agenda.
Go on, Dave.
Okay, I'll pick up on a couple of things there. Just going back to something that Warren said with regards to I forgot what point Warren made that I wanted to jump in on then. Can't remember.
It niggling mistakes, like the niggling mistake leading to
No,
one.
no, yeah, I know what it was. You made a comment about the standard refereeing in your eyes becoming worse, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be controversial here. I think it's got better. Okay? I think the standard of refereeing in terms of fitness, in terms of the pace of the game is better than it was 10 years ago. The problem that we have is now we're in a world where everything is televised, everything is analysed. The analysis of football on TV now is fundamentally changing. It changes year by year. You look at what Sky do, and I'm not criticising Sky, it's a fact, it's there. They now have whole shows dedicated with ex-professional footballers looking at every incident from a weekend's pile of fixtures. And it means that every perceived error that a referee makes is highlighted. And I think that, if you go back, say, 10 years, 15 years, we had an highlights package, didn't we? Live games started coming in with Sky. The analysis of football has gone so dramatic now that everything is picked up on. We got so many camera angles as well. That the thing with referees is a referee gets, it's going to sound like a cliche, but a referee gets one view at ground level of a decision. And sometimes your view in the ground is actually better than the referees, because the referee is at floor level, looking through players. You talked about the Ashley Williams incident before when you made a comment earlier where you said he had no intention of getting the ball. Might be right. Could very well be correct. The referee has to be 100% sure that he's making no attempt to get to the ball. His view of that might not be as good as what yours is. You know, it's when you're refereeing at ground level, your view of the decision is completely different than people watching. Completely different. And you get one view in a split second. And I go back to, you think there's an agenda against Arsenal, you know, I go back to the cup final where Anthony Taylor refereed. I remember Amanda speaking to me about Anthony Taylor being appointed for that final, and she wasn't happy. Anthony Taylor refereed that final absolutely brilliantly in my eyes, and his decision to send Victor Moses off and that's where I think refereeing is becoming better. I think they're becoming better at picking up on incidents such as that. I think 2 years ago, there's a good possibility a penalty may have been given there, because I'm not convinced the referee would have been watching for what Victor Moses was doing. And he knew, his instinct told him that Victor Moses had taken a dive. And it was a fantastic decision, plus the goal, obviously, that was given with the flag went up for offside. He handled that situation as well. So, look, I don't think there's an agenda against a particular football club. I don't think there's an agenda against particular managers. You know, I think there's a lot of football fans who will say that about the manager of their club, especially the top clubs. I don't think that happens. I don't think referees go on a field deliberately wanting to make decisions against a team player or manager. And if you were, the way that referees are now looked at, managed themselves, that'd be picked up on pretty quickly. You know, referees wouldn't be allowed to get away with it. So, look, I don't think there's an agenda. I think referees can make mistakes. I think they can make big mistakes. They're human beings, and they're looking at things once. And it's not, trust me, if you think it's not an easy job, I don't know if any of you have refereed. I don't know. Have you ever refereed?
Yeah, I had to referee on my coaching.
All right.
When I done the coaching badge. And I'll be honest, and that's why I feel there is a slight agenda, because when I was refereeing, I only just refereed vets games because it was just easier to do. But there was one fella, he kept moaning and moaning, and I think it's human nature. When he done a foul, when he was fouled, I just said play him because it's just getting on my nerves. You know what I mean?
I've been there. I've been there, mate.
But that does happen, doesn't it? Because you know, that's why
I'm not sure. I'm not sure at the top. I mean, I refereed a good number of seasons at league level, and you knew players who were mouthy, players who were trouble, players who you didn't like. But honestly, I can't remember ever thinking, well, it's him, so therefore I'm gonna give that decision or not give that decision. I'd like to think I haven't, and I'm not sure at the top level referees necessarily go onto the field with an agenda. What I would say, and I'm sure you're going to touch on it in a bit, what I would say is that there is a point that referees do know certain players have a reputation. There's no arguments about that. And actually, if you watch that the Sky documentary with Carragher and Neville, and you heard the referees talk about perceptions of players, they actually mentioned that. They said that they discuss, as a team of referees and linesmen, they discuss the weekend's coming fixture, and they know the players who's got a reputation. So that they are looking for certain things. That's human nature, because they have to have it in the back of their head that could happen. So is there an agenda? No, I don't think so. Can referees have a perception? Maybe, but I don't think it's an agenda.
So, Dave, Lee picked up on the Ross Barkley one, which is obviously against your team. So then how do you, I mean, I know, but just tell the listeners how you deal with that, being the fact that you are a Liverpool season ticket holder and you go home and away, plus it's Everton as well, and you're a ref. So how do you sort of complete that in your mind, sort of thing?
Well, I was at both derby fixtures this year, and the tackle I think Lee's talking about was at Goodison Park, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. I mean, he actually does 2 in the Anfield game as well. He gets lucky in the Anfield game. He should have been sent off in that game. He could have had 4 red cards against us this season, Ross Barkley. That tackle was I was in the Bullings Road on the opposite side. That was on the opposite. That was next to the main stand, right opposite me. And as you said before, you were in block whatever and saw something, you could tell it was a red card. Same. I knew he'd done him. The problem is, and this goes back to what I was saying before, and I'll answer your question in a minute, Amanda, but I can look at it dispassionately, I suppose. Referees are the only people on a football field who are not allowed to make a mistake. If a £30 million striker shins one from 5 yards, he'll get pelters, but not really, because then if he bangs one in the top corner 2 minutes later, nobody mentions the miss from 5 yards. If a referee gives a correct decision 2 minutes later after missing a red card, they'll still talk about the red card all day. So referees are not allowed to make a mistake. It was Mike Dean was a referee in that game, and it's a shocker. And he talked about it on that documentary, didn't he? He said he had to be in his head. He didn't know whether it was malicious. He was behind it. The player was sliding in front of him. It's a mistake. I don't think it's an agenda against Liverpool. I don't think he's pro Ross Barkley or anti Liverpool. I think he's genuinely made an error. I think he's got it wrong, and he's a human being, and people can make mistakes. To answer Amanda's question, in the ground, I'm the same as all. I'm not dispassionate there. I wanted Ross Barkley hung from the rafters. But when I look at it as a referee, and I can detach myself, I can look at it, and Amanda knows this by speaking to me about Liverpool games and Liverpool decisions. I can look at something and go, you know what, I can see why the referee has got it wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I can see why the referee got it wrong. On that Mike Dean incident, I just think it's an absolute cock-up. I think he's misjudged the nature of the tackle. Because if you see it again, cameras are looking at it aerially. If you see it aerially, he's got it off his feet, and he's made no intention of getting the ball. He's gone for the man. So it's a red card.
Okay, so we have our own little one like this, don't we, Woz, with Granit Xhaka?
Yeah, definitely.
You talk to Dave about that one.
Yeah, look, just quickly before I run on Xhaka, what we're saying about referee, how do we, when you look at Mike Dean's record refereeing Arsenal over a period of time of sort of 26, 27 games, and Arsenal had sort of 3 or 4 victories, and a club like Arsenal, whose win percentage is normally sort of 55, 60%, how does that...
Well, unless you can... Well, it's not about pattern, is it? It's about if you can come to me with evidence to show me that Mike Dean's making, and I'm going to use my own surname here, making rickets against Arsenal, then that's fine. But my point is, referees are judged, referees are marked, referees are assessed, and they're assessed every week.
Of course,
And if a referee is consistently giving decisions 2 or 4 against or for a certain team, there's no way that they would last over a period of time. me and Amanda have discussed this loads of times. I actually think Mike Dean's a decent referee. He gets a lot of stick. I think he's had a shocker last season, and he got demoted at one point, didn't he? He got taken out.
He did.
And I think that was deserved, because I think his decisions become inconsistent. On the flip side of that, I thought Anthony Taylor was fantastic last season. He refereed the Liverpool-Manchester United game at our place, and he was getting it in the net from all quarters because he's from Wythenshawe, which is a suburb of Manchester. Now, he should never have been given that game in the first place, not because he's going to be biased, but because if he has to give a contentious... Just imagine the Victor Moses challenge is, I don't know, Sadio Mane in the Manchester United penalty area, and he has to send Sadio Mane off. People then would be going, here we go, he's Mancunian. It's like, he shouldn't be in that position. The FA was stupid appointing him into that game. He was absolutely fantastic. And in that game, which wasn't the greatest of games, it was a typical Mourinho performance where he came and put 103 behind the ball. There was not a decision he got wrong. There was not, you said before, I think Warren said it, the best referees are the ones you don't see. You didn't notice him. He was fantastic. So I think referees can have, like anybody, referees like footballers can have poor periods in a career, and they get picked up. And I think me and Amanda had a discussion earlier on in the season, didn't we, Amanda, about how referees are assessed. Do you remember?
And also, I remember.
And you were saying to.
Go
on. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to go on to Mike Dean a second, because I felt like Warren did until I went to the Etihad a couple of years ago, and I moaned all week that Mike Dean was our ref, and it was the first time we'd won away. One of the big four, and he was superb. And if anything, not biased towards us, but he favoured us. So I was with Warren and Lee until I started discussing with you over the years, but I can see a lot now, a lot different. I don't think there's an agenda against Arsenal. What I will say, and I know Warren wants to touch on this, is I do feel, Dave, and you know I've always said it, I do feel Xhaka is sometimes hard done by when you look at people like Barkley. Okay, yes, I know what you're going to say. Wait,
it's not.
Wait, I know what you're going to say. Okay, I have no problem with Xhaka being sent off if there are red card offences. You know that. But what Lee was saying is correct. There are sometimes in the same games that we're looking at the same foul and the ref doesn't give it. And this is why we feel sometimes that there's a slight agenda in that match against Xhaka. Say, because obviously he's our one that keeps getting sent off.
Yeah.
We could see a player, that does a very similar foul, definite red in our eyes, and it's not.
Okay, but you'd have to bring me the evidence of that, because you're saying it blindly, aren't you? You're saying you saw the tackle in that game. I'm not saying you did or you didn't. I'm saying you'd have to show me the tackle, because I've seen, we've discussed this. I've seen every Granit Xhaka sending off. The boy has a problem with when he loses control of the football. He has a problem in controlling himself. He's not malicious. Xhaka. He's just got poor technique. So he loses control of the ball, and he's desperate to win it back. All he's sending offs are very, very similar, and he goes over the top, and he comes off his feet, and it becomes dangerous. They're red cards. I've not seen a Granit Xhaka sending off isn't a red card. So first and foremost, sorry,
Dave. Sorry to jump in, mate, but obviously the Lee Mason decision, the one at the start of the season where he tripped the geezer on the halfway line, he's not off his feet. He's not malicious. He's just breaking up a counter attack. That happens. That has been happening for years and years and years. And all of a sudden, they started saying, we're implementing a new rule. If there's no intention to play the ball, that's a straight red card. So Xhaka was sent off, and then about 4 times in the next 2 weeks, the exact same incident happened, yellow card from the same referee. And Granit Xhaka, and sorry mate, he's the second one where he goes in, he is straight-legged, but when he connects with the ball, he's not high, he does win the ball, and personally I feel there's a very good argument that could have been yellow card.
Okay. It's not about whether you win the ball.
I know it's not about whether you win, it's whether you're an endangering opponent, and
it's whether you're a tackles. Yeah, it's whether, and the fact the rule wasn't changed, but the interpretation of the law was changed in the last summer. So if you are off your feet, or if you are out of control in the tackle, doesn't matter how high the tackle is, if you're out of control and you can endanger an opponent, then it's deemed as a red card. I'd have to look at the first one again. I've seen them all, and everyone seemed a red card to me. I'll look at it, and I'll let Amanda know whether I changed my mind. But everyone I've seen seemed pretty straightforward to me. What I will say, and I'll go back to what I said before, Granit Xhaka may be unfortunate, as some players are, in terms that referees may have him on a radar. Because what you said before about knowing an individual when you're playing in a game and you think, here he is. As I said to you, they openly talked about it on the Sky programme where they said that they discussed, as a team, linesman and referee and fourth official, they discussed the two teams that are going to be playing at the weekend. And they will know certain individuals have, whether it's a certain individual who has a penchant for diving or a certain individual who's got poor tackling technique, or whatever, they'll know those players. Maybe Granit Xhaka does get a less tolerance than some players. And again, without seeing all the incidents in the same games, I can't really comment. But could there be a case that Xhaka is red carded when another opponent gets away with it? Quite possibly, and that happens. I'm not gonna sit here and say that all referees are perfect. They're not. Referees will have players in their mind who they feel that they need to keep a closer eye on than others, and that is human nature.
Lee, what do you feel about Xhaka?
Well, I can see both sides of the story. I think it's 50-50 with Xhaka. I think if you'd gone on to the interpretation and rule of what they were saying at the beginning of the season with that first one against Swansea, I think that Xhaka should have been sent off if that's the rule that was implicated, because he had no intentions of going for the ball, and from that point of view, you have to say that it's probably the correct decision. But then 2 weeks later, I'm watching Manchester United versus Tottenham, and Danny Rose does exactly the same thing, and he gets booked. Now,
Same ref.
The same ref was. I don't know that. So then you have to think to yourself, well, why is that? Because there was no intentions of the ball, and and I think that somewhere along the line there's a grey area of referees. 1 minute. What really worries me about referees, Dave, is that at times, you said it just earlier on, against Ross Barkley with Mike Dean. He thought about the decision, he thought about the process, but there weren't no thought process when Koscielny was sent off. It was straight over there, red card. There's no thought process, it's just done. So why on one occasion when is he going through a thought process, and then in the next minute he's just brandishing the red card simply as quickly as anything, and that's what worries me. Also,
I think. Go on. Sorry, I was going to answer. Go on.
Sometimes it looks like they're going putting something in there, listening to somebody else saying something down the line, which worries me. The fourth official. Yeah, the fourth official does speak to them. Yeah, they are in communication. Yeah, so what we're saying now is the referee's not refereeing the game.
Well, he is. I mean, the fourth official won't generally step in and say that's a red card or whatever. There is communication between the fourth official and the referee, but it won't be on clinical decisions. He won't be telling him what to do or whether he's seen it. If he thinks that the referee has made a mistake, actually the time that they'll do it is at half time or after, and the fourth official will say something to them if he feels that he's made a real error.
So my issue is, Dave.
Just go on. Could I just answer the thing that you've just made, the comment you've just made about the brandishing the red card quickly?
Yeah.
I think the problem there is, again, it goes back to the view and the angle that the referee is looking at, and where he's looking at it. I think there are some decisions where it's plainly just obvious that the decision is a red card or whatever, and I think that Koscielny one. I mean, I saw it. To me, it's a straight red. The referee had a good view of it. I think with the Henderson one with Barkley, I think the problem is he's right behind him, and as a referee, that's the worst. Apart from having someone stood in front of you so you can't see it, that's the worst angle you can be at. Is when a player is making a tackle and he's got his back to you, or you know what I mean, you're facing straight at it. You've got side view. You're coming from behind it. It's like did you see our game against Middlesbrough last game of the season when Middlesbrough should have had a penalty?
No, I haven't seen that actually.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Just got the wrong side, didn't he? Just got the wrong side.
Yeah, I mean,
buffeted him.
we have we have the beauty of knowing it's Dejan Lovren, so therefore it's definitely a penalty. But the referee probably doesn't hold that. As soon as it happened, I was going, oh dear. But I could see from the cop that that's a penalty. I mean, it's at the other end from me. The problem is when you look at the referee's angle of that decision, he is directly behind it. He's got one player in front of him. He can't see it. Where I have an issue is the involvement of the linesman.
Yeah, assistant referee they call them now, don't they?
I have a real problem with them.
Because he should see that one against Everton and Liverpool.
Yeah.
It's right by him.
Yeah.
Obviously, he chooses not to. And he's an assistant referee, and he's not assisting.
Yeah. And that to me is a problem. That there's not enough consistency with line. That linesman, that Middlesbrough Liverpool game, he should have been flagging with his arms with his flag across his chest, saying it's a penalty. And possibly you could interpret that Lovren wasn't going for the ball. I wouldn't even asked to be a red card, to be honest. But it's definitely a penalty. We'd have gone 1-0 down. Who knows what would have happened? So I mean, I think sometimes linesmen don't get involved enough. But I think just going off the how quickly they give a decision, I think if there's uncertainty in the referee's mind, they tend to take longer. I think if there's absolute certainty, then they'll brandish the red card. And I think that was the problem. I think Mike Dean talked himself out of giving that red card to Ross Barkley. I think he took time to get across to the decision to give him the card. And I think he was like, I'm not sure. And he got it wrong. And as you said, I've been should have
I've got a massive problem with Mike Dean. And I'll tell you what, I've got a massive problem with Mike Dean. And you've just turned around and said, and I agree with it, refereeing is a very, very hard job. We all accept that. But so is being a professional footballer. Not everybody's a professional footballer. The reason why is because you have to be bloody good at it. And, if you was a professional footballer and you keep missing goals from 5 yards, what's going to happen to you? It's a ruthless game. You're going to be dropped and not playing no more. I.e. Sonogo. What's happened to him? Gone. Not good enough. And it's the same with Mike Dean. And I have to say, it's not just, one decision with him. It's, I can go on to the one against Stoke this season when Bellerin was through. I don't know how it comes and brings him out, chops him down or stops him playing. The whole 22 players stop waiting for the free kick apart from Mike Dean, who says play on. And love and behold, they go and score from it, and it's just like, it's a continuation of mistakes that he continues to make. And I know, you're going to say, oh, it's hard, he's got angles. And
No, I'm not. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that's your opinion of Mike Dean as a referee, and that's fair enough. You're entitled to have that opinion, just as people are entitled to have opinions of footballers. You'll disagree. I don't know. Me and Amanda disagree on Giroud, but you'll think one player's a good player, another player's not a good player.
I totally agree. Totally agree. But I just think we've
all I will say on referees are that they are critically assessed. They are critically assessed. They're not ignored. They are worked with and assessed. And if a referee is performing badly consistently, I've not seen every Mike Dean performance, I can't comment. But I actually think Mike Dean's a half-decent referee, apart from last season. I thought some of the decisions he was making last season looked like a referee who had muddled thinking. And when you've got that in your locker as a referee, when your head is not clear, I think you have a problem. And I think Mike Dean had an inconsistent season on the performances that I saw.
But the thing is, Dave, and I'm just going to say this, is that Warren, Lee and I are all very different football fans, okay? And I've brought up Mike Dean for years, and I didn't know Lee and Warren for years. So it can't be a biased, as in a group of us talking about it. I would say, and I'm not going to exaggerate here, a lot of Arsenal fans feel like that, and all different fans. So you're telling me he's critically assessed, they all are. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Now, I'm going to go back, and hold on, I'm going to go back to...
No, hold on. I can't let you pass without answering that. Because that's a really glib statement to make.
Yeah, but that's me, innit? Glib, my middle name. Let me just finish something.
No. You just said sometimes it doesn't feel like that.
It doesn't.
But they are. That's a fact. It's not you can feel it all you like, but they are assessed every week.
But you've even mentioned that Mike Dean had a shocker last season. How long does it take for the...
But he did get demoted last season.
When did he get demoted?
In the middle of the season.
Yeah, he went to play.
Christmas.
he got demoted, Dave, and he cocked up the decision at Leeds, didn't he? Like, you know what I mean? And but 2 weeks later, even after making a diabolical decision in the game against Leeds, he then got reinstated. Which is, you can't continue to keep making mistakes and then get demoted and still make mistakes and then come back again.
Yeah, what my point is, sorry,
I'm not
Dave,
disagreeing
let me
with you.
just finish a second. What my point is there must be something in this, how we're feeling about Dean, because we're all different fans, and I didn't know these two were that, as I felt about Mike Dean. And you know that I felt this, 3 years ago when I went to the Etihad. I mean, yes, he did ref great that day, okay, but leading up to that for years, we've always felt that. And I'm wondering if other club fans feel that about certain refs.
But they do. I can tell you now, Liverpool fans.
Of course,
Liverpool fans had it in the neck for years for Howard Webb.
Yeah.
Man United fan. Utter bollocks. Utter nonsense.
I know.
And I argue to the hilt. I argue with the lads in the car. If we had Howard Webb on a weekend, there'd be hell to pay. The world's against us. Howard Webb's going to give everything. And it's just like, do you know what? I just don't see it. Don't buy it. Can a referee be a poor referee? Yeah, he can. Can he be as good as what you think he should be? Yeah. Does it mean that he's as bad as what you think he is? I would suggest not.
Right. Okay, Dave, we've discussed this, but I haven't discussed it with Liam Warren. I have felt during the 90s in Fergie's time, okay, you know what I'm going to say, the amount of penalties they got, the amount of extra time they got was constant. Okay, I just feel that some refs may be intimidated by where they're playing at. Don't know. I do feel that United got a hell of a lot of decisions, that it was convenient week after week after week. They'd get 7 or 8 minutes, and we used to call it Fergie time. Even the press called it that. So are you telling me that this is all in our minds and it's not correct?
I think you know my opinion on this. Manchester, to start on the penalties, Manchester United got more penalties than the opposition because they were in the opposition's box.
Totally agree with that.
That's the biggest myth in football. Manchester United were an attacking side. The possession that they had, the attacking possession that they had, meant that we had it 2 seasons ago when we were getting, was it last season when we were getting penalty after penalty? We got loads of penalties last season. No agenda in our favour, just we were in the box a lot. Manchester United would attack and they would go for teams' throats, especially at Old Trafford. And they would get penalties because they were in the box. The Fergie time thing, I remember I don't know how long your memory is, but I remember a Sheffield Wednesday game where they won the league the first time in the modern era, I think 93 when they won it, where they were 1-0 down going into injury time and they got 7 minutes of injury time and scored twice. You remember that game?
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
Two Steve Bruce, that is.
Yeah.
Now, people, I know one of my mates points that all the time. When we're in the booze around here, because it's mixed around here, Liverpool, Man United, and he brings that game up all the time. Yeah, see, that was the start, but that was the start of Fergie time. You had 7 minutes injury time. You had 7 minutes injury time because the linesman was injured. The linesman pulled an hamstring, went down, and was down for 7 minutes. They got the allotted injury time. The fact that it was Manchester United was irrelevant. And I think, if you look at it, it's not the amount of time Manchester United used to get as injury time. It's the amount of times that they would score in injury time that was the problem. And people are jealous. That's it. They would score like
Dave, I agree with you on so many points there, but I'm going to have to bring up the 49th game or the 50th game against them. You know what I mean? It was, the referee was Riley that day, who was now in charge of referees. It was the most pathetic performance I've ever seen from a referee. You know what I mean? They should have been down to 10 men after 10 minutes when Lundberg went through and Ferdinand brought him down. Nothing given. The assault on Ashley Cole was barbaric that day. And even Gary Neville's turned around and said, they kicked lumps out of Reyes that day, and they knew they could do it because they was getting away with it. And this bloke now, what is his reward for that? He's the manager of the referees.
But what I would say there, Lee, I mean, take this the right way. I'm going to say this with respect, and it's not a criticism. It's what you do as football fans. Liverpool fans do it as well. My mates do it. I do it occasionally. I remember the game. Did he score a penalty? Rooney scored a penalty.
Yeah, there wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, I remember it. I don't remember all the individual decisions, but I remember the penalty and I remember the dive for the penalty.
That's for us, Dave. It still hurts now.
Dave, you're saying because they're in the box. Hold on, you're saying because they're in the box all the time, they get penalties. They were in the box that day, and that was a dive. So that doesn't ring true all the time.
Amanda.
I'm angry about that day.
Well, but okay, and you have every right to be angry, but just ask yourself a question. That's not a point to a big agenda in favour of Manchester United or anti-Arsenal. That's the referee having a shocker. The referee made a mistake.
At Old Trafford in favour of United. Funny that.
Have you ever Perez?
Yeah, best diver in the place.
Right. So, look, we've all had penalties given for us and against us where players have dived or not dived, haven't we?
Oh, yeah, totally agree.
You can't sit there and say it's because it's Manchester United, it's at Old Trafford, it's in the penalty area. Oh my God, it's a big pro Fergie. It's just nonsense. I
don't feel that, Dave. I'm not. I agree with what you're saying to a certain degree, but I do believe, and I admire him for it, that Alex Ferguson intimidated the referees by the way he was. You know what I mean? And he was very good at doing it, and he used it to his advantage. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing right or wrong with that, but he 100% did. You know what I mean? Like going up to the referees and pointing at his watch and certain things. Very clever. I think Ferguson is a very, very clever manager.
I'd still say
to his advantage.
I'd still say that if you take the bigger picture there, I don't think it's a Manchester United thing necessarily. Do the bigger clubs get more decisions at home than others? I don't know. Liverpool did back in the day, I suppose. When Liverpool had if you listen to any older Liverpool player talk about the way that they were told to intimidate referees, they were told to do it cleverly. You know, they would do it individually. So one decision, Graham Souness would go up. The next decision, Ronnie Whelan would go up. The next decision, so the referee doesn't see a pattern. Do you know what I mean? The referee just sees an individual coming at him. Yeah, clever. Forrest did it back in the day with Clough. I think there are tactics that people have used to get in the referee's head. And as I said, referees are human beings, and some may be intimidated by those tactics. What I would say is that's actually contradictory, isn't it, to what we were saying right at the very start of this, where you say, I know that bloke is a bit aggressive, so therefore I'm not going to give him anything. So what we're saying now is it's the other way. If someone's aggressive and in your face, then you start giving decisions for them.
It's a bit different when it's the manager of a club at Old Trafford than a player on a pitch.
Well, listen, I've got mates of mine who think that the whole thing's bent in favour of them, like completely bent. I've got one mate of mine you've spoken to him actually on Facebook. He'll tell you it's the biggest conspiracy in the world. I just don't think it is. I think that referees can be intimidated by the bigger clubs and the more successful clubs, and that's not just Manchester United. That goes back to, as I said, Liverpool certainly did it, Leeds United certainly did it, Forest did it. I think that happens. I don't think the Manchester United thing is as pronounced as what a lot of people, because a lot of the things that you mention, the injury time and the penalties for them, I just genuinely think it's the circumstances. Okay. They scored a lot of goals in injury time.
Dave, I don't know what Lee and Warren might know the date, but we had a match at Highbury once. We played United. I think within 5 or 6 minutes, Roy Keane took out Vieira in a vile tackle.
Was Graham Poll referee?
I don't know. I'm useless at any of those stats, years, any of that. I just remember sitting there going, I looked at the ref and I thought, he's going to say it's too early, 6-7 minutes. He took him out of that game. It makes Koscielny look nothing. He gave nothing. I don't even think he gave a yellow card. He couldn't give a yellow. It had to be a red or nothing.
I remember it.
And that is where, over the years, where anti-United bias comes in. Because if that was Vieira, it'd have been off the pitch We've seen it so many times with Vieira. Look, some of our players, and this obviously is an Arsenal podcast, some of our players are a bit stupid, to be honest. They're not clever like they used to be. Adams was clever, Omri was clever, Bergkamp was very clever. Some of ours aren't. I just feel, and I'm going to come off this slightly in a minute, but I just feel that it doesn't matter how much we discuss it, I do feel there is bias towards United. There was then, I'm not saying there is now. And what Lee is saying is right. Ferguson was clever. He was very clever. I mean, I can't stand him, but what a brilliant manager he was, you know. Anyway, right, Warren. Sorry, go on. Have you got something to say, Dave?
I was just finally on that. I was going to say, I'm not saying that Manchester United weren't necessarily getting more decisions in their favour at Old Trafford. As I've just said, Liverpool probably did back in the day, as did Forest, as did the bigger clubs. I think, all I'm going to say is I think the accusation, the injury time thing for me is just a misnomer.
But you know, you're saying about back in the day, but back in the day I was watching football in the 80s and I never felt that about Liverpool. I never once
people used to say it to us all the time.
Oh, well,
all the time.
I didn't feel
all
like
the time. All
Okay.
the time.
Warren,
Don't forget though,
sorry,
you didn't have social media then. You didn't have social media.
I know. And football was a joy. Not like now. Warren?
Yes.
We were talking about video technology. You wanted to talk about that. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, the uses of it, it really winds me up because Dave said earlier about referees and the word that really got me was perception. Now, I think in order to aid the referees, and where I said I feel they're getting worse, I think their perception of the modern game is wrong. I think they're not as intelligent as they used to be, and the game's changing, I believe, and that they're fitter, they're stronger, they're quicker, their brains are probably moving quicker, but I just don't think they perceive the game in the correct way as much as, and I do look at it, and I look at Howard Webb when he analyses some decisions, and I sit there and I listen to him and I think, you're a referee who's refereed at the highest level. You're sat there with 20 TV screens with 40 angles, and I still don't agree with you. A lot of the decisions are down to perception. Now, I think to help referees, I think the rules really do need clearing up. There's so many grey areas in so many different things. It's being left, for me, for too much perception because one referee will see it one way, and then the next week he'll perceive the same incident a different way because there's no black and white rules. And obviously there are situations where it does come down to, okay, there is a bit of perception here, it ain't cut and dry. But with regards to the video technology side of things, I do not believe that this will change anything. I personally would rather have referees get decisions wrong. I personally would rather have the game be natural and free-flowing, and I wouldn't like to stop and see decisions. We've seen decisions given incorrectly with video technology recently with a penalty that was given. And the only part of video technology that I would openly welcome, firstly, we've got the goal line technology, which I think is fantastic because the ball's either in the goal or it ain't in the goal. Simple as that. I think they should be able to develop something that can differentiate between offside and onside, because surely that can be a straight line across the pitch. There's two colours, simple as that. Surely they could, in this day and age, there can be something that beams up and down the line and it can tell you and buzz offside or onside. And also for the ball going out of the field of play. I mean, I know it would be quite difficult to implement, but I think for me in football, they're the only real clear cut and black and white things that you'll work for.
Totally agree, Warren. Can't agree with him anymore.
But,
you see the.
Sorry, Dave. And the only other thing I'd like to say about it is I can understand why they're trying it, and a lot of people will say all these other sports have moved on. But personally, I think football's been this way. This is why I love the game. I love the fact that we can go down the pub after and we'll talk about these decisions. It makes part of the theatre, and obviously we all want to see referees getting things right more often. His big decisions affect big games, but they're doing their job, and it is very difficult for them. I just think we need to sharpen up the rules a bit, and they need to take it by the scruff of the neck and stop as much perception as they can and make it as cut and dry as they can.
Right, Dave, before you answer, I just want to bring Lee in. Lee, do you agree with that, or do you want technology?
No, I'm old school. I'm sorry, you know what I mean, technology. I do agree, the goal line technology has been fantastic. So there should be certain things. I think that you can sort this offside thing. The trouble with the offside rule is I don't think really no one ever really knows what actually is offside and not onside. You know what I mean? It's his hand, is his left testicle onside or offside, things like that. It's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like in my day, if you was offside, you was offside. And then they put it in line with you. Now if your fingernails in offside, it's offside. I think they've got to sort that out. And then, would you really need the technology? This second phase, first phase, and all that. It just adds a lot of complications to what it actually is. I agree with Warren. I think that you've got to have. I don't like it when these, as I said earlier on, the referee listening to somebody else on the sideline. The referee's there to referee. We all slag off referees, but if the referee don't turn up, you ain't got a game, and that's how it should be remembered. But I definitely do agree with the goal line technology because it's fact. But there are decisions that in football that are opinions, and it happens to be the opinion of that ref one week and another. We're all going to moan about it, but that is football, and I think that you don't really want to take that away.
Before you answer, Dave, the goal we scored, Sanchez, the first goal in the cup final. Every anti-Arsenal fan says that Ramsey's offside, and every pro-Arsenal fan says that's not the rules. This is where the problem lies. Sorry. I feel, I don't know why they've changed this offside. If you are offside, you are offside. There shouldn't be any definitions around it. Why can't we go back to old school offside, Dave? Why can't we?
I'm not sure we should go back to old school offside. 'Cause if you stood on the far right touchline, then you're not interfering with play. I don't know. I think Warren's right, and you're right. Lee's right that the rules need tidying up and tightening up. The problem, as Amanda knows, I work for part-time for a professional rugby league club, and they have video technology, and they hate it. The coaches hate it. The players hate it. Now, people will point and say correct decisions get given. They still don't. They still don't, even with video technology referee. In fact, it muddies a lot of waters. In rugby league, they'll slow a decision down now to see if the ball has come away from the hand. And if the ball has come away from the hand for a millimetre, they'll disallow a try. And it goes back to that, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's a duck. It's a try. And it just muddies the waters. The video technology on the goal line technology works because it's a definitive fact, but football is a matter of opinion, and referees will have different opinions, and as Warren quite rightly says, it is the drama and the theatre of football. I would have nothing apart from the video technology for the goal. I wouldn't bring anything else in. I would tighten the offside rule up, but I would still leave it to the linesman to make that decision. And football fans have to accept that a referee can make a mistake. And if you can't, because as I said before, we're getting to a point where referees are the only people who can't make a mistake on a football field. It's accepted that a player can make a mistake, but it's not accepted that a referee can. And yes, if it's incompetence, if a referee, and maybe Mike Dean should be demoted, I don't know, but if it's incompetent and the referee is judged to be incompetent week after week, they should be demoted. And maybe there should be more pressure on Mike Riley and the referees management association to make quicker decisions on referees that aren't performing. But certainly, there'd be nothing worse for me than it would to go like American sports, where everything is looked 100 times and everything's whiter than white. No thanks. Get back to having a pint down the pub and discussing whether something was a penalty or not. It's the beauty of the game.
I don't want video technology because I'll still argue with it. So I'll still be messaging you, Dave, going, I can't believe they've given that.
You're a woman. Of course you're going to argue with it.
Yeah, a woman. Hey, at football. Funny that.
No, I never said that. I'm talking about you arguing. Nothing to do about watching football.
I don't argue. I'm just right. That's it.
God.
Lee, have you got any more decisions that you wanted to talk about? Is there anything?
No, there was obviously we've sort of with this. I've got to ask Dave's point on Arsenal versus Liverpool Champions League a couple of years ago when Cleve gets taken right out in the penalty area, right in front of the the official on the line, and he chooses not to see it. That was an absolute joke of a decision, you know. So it cost us. Not that I'm bitter. It knocked us out of the Champions League because of that decision, you know. So
I remember that. It was an absolute shocker.
An absolute.
But there's another question. What do them blokes actually do?
Well, don't get me on that. You know what I mean? It's, like that decision happened. You can go in the Champions League with that decision, and then in the Champions League this season against Munich, the referee that referee gets involved. Funny enough against Arsenal, they don't never get involved any other time, and they get involved against us. You know, and that's. Sooner they get rid of them referees, the better, I think.
That muddies the waters even further.
Yeah, without a doubt, you know. So.
Okay, Warren, one more point before we finish up.
I've got two main gripes with the rules of football that I really, really want to change for next season. First things first, and I know they are starting to do it, is retrospective banning on diving. I think it's so easy to... There's so many decisions. Yeah, sometimes you might be able to say they're evading challenge, but I'll tell you something now. There has been, in the last 3-4 years, easily 100 decisions where people have blatantly attempted to deceive the referee, deceive their fellow professionals, and cheat. And whether it's part and parcel of the game or not, I think it needs to be eradicated. And for me, free game, retrospective ban, if you give them that and they know they're going to get caught, they don't dive. Simple as that. The next thing that really winds me up is if a referee sees a decision and books a player, that no retrospective punishment can be handed out for that decision. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's
garbage.
Because that is then saying, okay, all my trust is in the referee, whether he's got it wrong or not, it don't matter, he's right, which is not true. He does make mistakes, and he can make mistakes. So if he gets a booking, you have got to have that open.
Yeah.
Even if he's seen the decision and it's in his report, if it's blatantly obvious, this is where video technology should be used afterwards for serious incidents that people can see. If there's an elbow and the ref gives a yellow and it's a blatant elbow and intent to cause harm, he's just missed it, he's got it wrong on the day, but retrospectively, sorry mate, that's a free game ban, red card.
Can I add one to that? I've got a rule of football which should be it's actually there, but it's never implemented, and I implement it when I referee. And it drives people bonkers. If someone swears at me, they get sent off. And what I mean by that is, if they call me a C or a T and give me a load of offensive spiel, they get a red card. The amount, Wayne Rooney is your classic example, isn't he? The amount of times that you see him spit the F word at a referee, I'm screaming at the TV, send him off. And if the authority said, right, you are going to send them off for foul and abusive language, and you're going to get a 3-game ban, it'd last 2 weeks before managers started going, hold on. We can't have our best players not playing because they're infringing the laws every week. And the amount of times I see them mouthing at the referee, and I think, just have some balls and implement the rules, send them off.
Dave, don't let them implement it on the fans. Otherwise, I don't think me or Am
I led to believe that is a rule though, Dave, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is
a
it's
rule.
Not just a referees either.
But if you swear at a referee, it's a red card. So it is there, but they choose not to use it.
It's not even at a referee. Foul and abusive language directed at any participant of the game. So actually, if you call the centre forward a C or a T, you should be technically sent off. You're not going to be, but you should be. But I see it too often, and I think, again, as you watch kids, I've got a quick story. A mate of mine's son plays football and rugby, and I went to watch him in a semi-final football game and a rugby game on the same day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. He was just in the local park, and he got hiked off by his coach for swearing at the referee, right, in the afternoon. In the morning, when he played the rugby game, he was calling the referee sir. And I was like, how does that happen? Because he's strapped a football kit on. That he's talking to the referee in that manner, yet in the morning, he was addressing the referee as sir because he was playing rugby.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
That's not the person, that's the game they're playing.
Yeah, the image of the game, yeah.
Right.
It's like when I get out of cricket, I just say damn. No.
Ducks.
You say damn, you don't even have to spell it, let alone say it. Damn. I've heard you at football.
Shocking decision, umpire.
Shocking decision.
It's all an agenda. He's got an agenda.
Right, have you lot finished questioning, Dave? Is there anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah, fantastic chat. I have to say, really enjoyed it. Really
That
Yeah,
was
no,
great.
I just want to say I'm glad I finally got to speak to the referee that you speak of every day.
Yeah,
And
he's
now-
real.
And now you know you can't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. Ignore him.
He is
So
real,
now I
Warren.
understand where it's been from. Yeah, so thank you very much.
No, he
No
doesn't.
problem. I've enjoyed it.
To be fair to Dave, he has changed my view over the years of, because constantly he will watch Arsenal games when I'm watching them, and, there are times he does agree with me, but there are many times I've been wrong on penalties. I mean, I'll still argue with you about Vardy at, I was going to say Highbury at the Emirates, Dave. You know what I think about that one. But again, that is opinion as well. But
Our opinion on the outcome wasn't different. It was what it was that was the difference.
it wasn't a penalty.
No, that's not what we were arguing
It
about.
was. I said he dived.
No, it wasn't.
He went
no,
over his
it
leg.
wasn't. No. It's about whether he's dived. It's about whether he's dived or whether he ran in and made deliberate contact. That was the discussion.
You can't argue about an argument now.
No, we've argued about this.
I
We
think you'll
just
find me and Amanda can.
we can. Not that I argued that much with him about refereeing stuff. But anyway,
Dave, while you're on, can I ask the question? Did you think, in the FA Cup final in 2001, I'm still bitter about the handball on the line that day.
Henshaw.
He only handballed it twice. Come on. No, they were.
It was just a bad angle, was it? Was it just a bad angle? Just
Very,
don't
very,
say that.
very bad angle that referee had. And
I tell you something, Dave. I was down that end and I was on that line and I saw everything. I wanted
So
to
did
get
I.
on, I wanted to get on the pitch. You lot were at the other end, Scousers. You were at the other end. This was our end, and I.
No. There was one at each end.
Oh, I'm talking about the blatant one where he just
There was two.
handballs it on the line.
No,
and
no, there
Adams
was
is
two.
going nuts. I think it's Adams. Is it Adams?
Amanda, there's two
Oh.
blatant handballs by Stefan Henshaw.
Yeah,
One in the first half and one in the second half.
I don't remember.
And it was on my birthday. Sod.
I think it's
Listen.
funny, you can laugh about it now, but at the time...
Yeah, no, we've all been there, haven't we? I mean, those type of things. I mean, you absolutely battered us that game as well.
Typical Arsenal, that.
Yeah, but hold on, then we can turn it around, Lee, because Man United absolutely battered us at Cardiff and we beat them on penalties. So I do believe in swings and roundabouts. We should have lost 8-0 to United that day, Lee. So
Yeah, that's true. But
I don't believe it.
We didn't handball it on the line, though, did we?
no, we didn't handball it. We just were shit and we didn't turn up. And United, I don't know, they didn't score. It was obviously our day. It was the last time Vieira ever kicked the ball for us, wasn't it? But right, I think it's been brilliant. And
Fantastic.
Warren, thanks for coming on and assisting me, my little compadre. Thank you for coming on.
I'm going to book in a little spell at Referees Anonymous and try and cut down on the abuse next season if I can.
Yeah, because every time we see one at Arsenal now, you can message Dave on Twitter.
Yeah, deep breath.
That's it. With a stick.
Deep breath. And Lee, thanks very much for joining us.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for inviting me on. I really enjoyed it,
It's gone well. And my mate, the ref, thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been brilliant.
And to all of you, thanks for listening to this special Gooner Ramble pod. And I hope you enjoy it. And remember, always Arsenal.
Odds Monkey. Beat the bookie and make money whether you win, lose or draw. Swing by oddsmonkey.com today to try the UK's #1 matched betting service for just £1. Enter promo code Gooner when you register and upgrade to premium.